Hey yo, G Dash, boy, take your hat off. Fine. This week on Hats Off with G Dash Jones.
Y'all know what it is. Hold up. Ooh, we got the acoustics out today? Yeah. It's your boy G Dash Jones. Ooh. Ooh. That's it. This is my man Ty Mathis. Ooh. I ain't gonna give you too much. Skirt. Ooh. So it's your boy G Dash Jones. This is an episode of Hats Off with G Dash Jones. Y'all know what it is. This week, I got the man, the myth, the legend, the leader of the Canopy Crow Productions. Also, the leader of the Full Carbon Get Up. We're going to talk to Mr. Aaron Poole. Yeah, it's a vibe, okay? Also, just so you know, I kicked the show off with Ty Mathis, his new song, Slide. Why? Because, of course, I'm hosting Tyfest this weekend. That's it. Yes, sir. So I'm hosting tyfest this weekend at Theater Inn with Suge Daniels, Ty Mathis. Oh, man. The Simply Sound vibrations. Get your vibrations on. It's going to be a whole vibe. Fig 90s in the building, yeah, it's a whole situation. But, so, and by the way, in case y'all didn't know, next Wednesday, open mic jam session at the Wilmington Library, Delaware Music Network presents. So bring your guitar, bring your vocals, bring whatever. Come on out to the open mic jam session at Delaware Music Network. That's what we do. But with that said, time for me to bring up the man, the myth, the legend, and actually he was also Ty Mathis's drummer at one point. So about Ty, a man about many gifts and talents, if you will. So I'm gonna bring up Aaron Poole. There you go, good sir. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing good. How you doing?
Another day in paradise, brother.
Good.
That's
Good.
it.
Sounds good.
Woo.
Love it.
First and foremost, tell the people a little bit about yourself.
Um. Well, I mean, to start from the ground up, I was born here in Wilmington. Grew up right there, 52 in Broome Street. Um, right in that area. So from Market Street to Greenville, that's where everything started, and yeah, I mean, I don't know where to begin. It's let's do the so after high school, went to University of Delaware. So I'm a Delaware boy through and through for sure. And that's where that high school is where I met the guys in Spokey Speaky, and I played with those guys starting in college. Played with Spokey for a little while, like 2000. I always get these dates confused, but around like 2004-ish, 5-ish to around like 11 or 12-ish in that area. And in that time, I was also working with some other people. The Mad Sweet Pangs was a band at that area, or in that area, and their drummer Rob Young was starting to was starting to do some kids music stuff. He asked me to do some kids music stuff, write some songs. So I wrote a bunch of kids songs for him. Um, and, and at the time, I just he was doing like after school kids music and some programs and things like that. And he was doing that more full time. I was doing that here and there, but he started to run these kids songs, and that was kind of that. I was like, all right, good stuff. And then a few years later, he calls me and he's like, hey, those kids songs, we kind of built a curriculum around them, and we were doing all these things. So him and his wife uh, started to kind of build out a curriculum, and then they were yeah, so we're trying to make this a subscription service where kids come and they pay a subscription to get access to all these like music video or like videos for children's music. And long story short, in 2016, that project got funded, right? The quotes, by a Turkish rhythm school um, in Turkey. And they needed a melody component to their rhythm lessons. And so that kind of started it all off. And so they said, we'd love for you to come on board, continue writing songs, help us kind of grow this company. That company, by the way, is Prodigies Music. If you have youngins, go to prodigiesmusic.com or prodigies.com. The story of how we got Prodigies.com is a whole nother fun story about buying websites that better match your brand. But yes.
Wait, pause real quick because I want to ask you about that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I feel like Prodigies.com is one of them websites that was owned by expensive people anyway. Like they had that set just so they could raise the price.
They did.
And you was like, we want to buy Prodigies. Real easy. You know, it wasn't Mobb Deep related. It was just going to be expensive. Like,
Yeah.
how did you wind up getting that?
Well, you know, the story is not all mine to tell, so I'll keep it vague. But basically, we tried to buy it in like 2017 or 18 for a certain price, and that price was high for a startup business. And then 3 years went by, and they basically said, "I'm not moving on price. I'm not going to budge." And we said, "Well, Prodigy's music is doing fine for us, so it is what it is." And then 2 or 3 years went by. Every now and then, us checking in, they would never budge. They wouldn't budge. But then after 3 years, it was kind of like, well, obviously nobody else wants it, so you didn't budge on us, but nobody is budging for you. So do you want this? Do you want the money, or do you want a worthless website you're not using? And so it was kind of like a negotiation by not negotiating. And then eventually, eventually we bought the website from them, and they weren't able to jack the price up because there was no competition for it. I mean, which is funny is because there's a Prodigies Math, and there was a Prodigies English, there was all these other Prodigies, but I think they were all fine doing what we did, which is Prodigies Math or Prodigies Classes or Prodigies.net or Prodigies whatever. So the whole URL domain game is that's like a whole, that's a whole hour in itself. But
So y'all were pretty much able to leverage the lack of competition.
Yeah, or at least or at least the people that we were competing with weren't raising the price either. They were also probably saying, no, that's too expensive. Like I said, the whole story, I like to share stuff with people, as many numbers, but that story is not all mine to tell. So I don't want to get into the numbers, but the numbers were interesting, and it was not cheap to buy that site. And it took us 4 years as a business to get to the point where we were in a position to buy that site. But so 2016, they call me and they say, hey, we want you to join the team, help grow this company. And I said, yeah, where are y'all at nowadays? Are you still in Delaware, or, where? And they said, no, we're living in Maui, actually. So I said, all right, well, I already bought my plane tickets. We'll negotiate terms when I land. That was a mistake. But at the same time, it was good. It was a good journey. They were my friends. And so, we all got along well. A short version of that is, and Gail from Gable Music said this in one of our interviews at one point, and she said, get as much down on paper as early as you can. Everyone's going to convince you that once that happens, then we'll do XYZ. But really, like what I call a letter of intent. If you're going to work with someone, send them an email saying, here's the intent. So when XYZ happens, you can follow through on that intent. Without a letter of intent, something I've seen over and over and over, whether you're in bands or business or whatever, is things get more complicated when there's more on the line, not less complicated. When you do finally get the money to hire a lawyer doesn't show up and make things easier. A lawyer shows up and picks the side where he gets the best advantage, So a letter of intent is really, really simple. It's just you email your friend, it is my intent to work with you for a year and for you to have 25% of the business and me to have 75% of the business. And if we stay a single member LLC, I'll represent that in shares. If we become a multi-member LLC, that will be represented in stock, blah, 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 blah. Write that out and then send it in email and have your friend respond back. That looks great. Can't wait to work with you. And that alone can save early partnership thousands and thousands of dollars, because it is confusing to figure out who owns what when. But if you write that letter, so that was a big lesson for me, because they were my friends. And to this day, we still have great relationships and things like that. But that created a lot of tension that didn't need to be there. But at the same time, we were all green. We were young. But so I joined Prodigies 2016. And again, I don't know how many details to get into, but it was a 4-person team at that time. There was 4 of us, and it was wild, like being there in the beginning, where like here's this proof, here's this concept, we think it's working, we have some family and friends, and 1 or 2 good contracts that are showing us, or that are giving us enough traction to get started. But we weren't really sure if this was something that could grow. And so that first year, there was 4 of us, and it was, probably around like 100K in the first year or 2 of sales. And then 6 years later, we're up to, and it was steady growth. It was like, 100 to 400 to 600 to 1200. And then the last 2 years, COVID gave us a big boom because we were an online learning platform. In hindsight, it was actually not great for our business because it made us think that we were growing faster than we were really growing. And then once COVID stopped and everyone returned, it shrunk again. And that caused a lot of tension, a lot of difficulties, which in order for the company to grow, we needed cash flow, and we had a lot of people on payroll. And part of the growth of that company was getting people off payroll. And that's last January is when I exited, stopped taking money from the company. But, still great terms with them, still a partner in that space. But yeah, when I exited, that was a year of 1.9 mil in sales, but sales is not profit.
That's a fact.
It's an important thing to remember. Sales is not profit.
Especially when you got to pay people, pay entities, pay structures, and it's a digital, which means you have to pay for technically digital licensing and things like that.
Yep. Yeah. Between payroll and lending. So there was an e-commerce element to the business too. So, you would have to borrow money to fill up your inventory, and then you sell all that. And then that profit isn't profit until you pay back the money you had to borrow. Right. But when you're lending at certain rates, those margins, those profit margins can sometimes vanish in the whole repayment process. And so, there was a lot of growth. They're an incredible product. If you have a kid, they are an incredible product, absolutely worth the monthly membership. So, what they are to the public is very, very valuable. And what they are from a business perspective is they are in a great period of growth. But like all businesses, it's what we call a bottleneck, right? Things are growing, but then you go through this narrow period where, you can do one of 2 things. You can either continue doing things the way you're going to do and fail in a year or 2, or you can do the really hard stuff to get through that bottleneck and then regrow. And, fingers crossed that bottleneck is going to re-widen again for them. I loved doing kids music, but one of the things that made that transition easier for me was I had never envisioned myself being in kids music for as long as I was. I was there almost 6 years.
Wait, how many kids songs did you have to come up with? And like, what was the topics? Did you go through, like, was it like all types of from math, science?
Yeah.
Or like what was
So it was, we were largely K-5, so they're very simple songs. I was excited to get to the high school stuff where I can write raps about chemistry, I'm definitely more of I like layered, textured, really complex stuff. And that's not ideal for, young children like age 2 to 5. They want simple
you can't let the beat build for the 5-year-olds. Like, you can't let it
yeah. But so I wrote probably 20 to 25 songs, but only about maybe 6 or 7 of them wound up in the regular curriculum. And those were largely the rhythm songs, right? So I'd write a chorus that's if you want some sweet beats, we've got them. If you want some sweet beats, we've got them. And so they take that chorus and then turn it into a rhythm song. So during the verses, it would be like beat, beat, cherry, beat, beat, beat. And the kids would repeat, cherry, beat, watermelon, watermelon, cherry, beat, watermelon, watermelon, cherry. And they would learn.
I don't want no copyright claims. This ain't like what we doing. I don't want no problem.
No. There would be no issue. There would be no issue here.
All right.
And I say that as there would be no. But so they would use, if anything, this is a commercial. Like if you're trying to teach your kids rhythm, go check out their product, right? But yeah, so they would use the kind of division, like we would try and bring in like a play. It's a play-based learning method. So you'd bring in things they like doing to teach them concepts, and they don't even, a lot of the kids don't even fully realize how much they're learning until they apply those concepts elsewhere. And then they're like, oh my gosh, I know quarter notes, I know eighth notes, I know all those things now. And yeah, I mean, honestly, like I'm an uncle to 10, and I always love that aha moment where a kid gets a concept. And so that was a lot of what I got the most joy out of it. Like as a writer, as a songwriter and musician, you know, it wasn't a space I expected to be in. So there was a lot of like, I should be working on my music career and touring the world with adult music, but instead I'm doing this. But like when you see the kids like get the concepts, when you bring that out into a market, and like watching children who previously thought music was unattainable all of a sudden being like, wow, I know these songs now, I know how to do this stuff. You know, that was an incredible reward for me. So, you know, it was a great journey. It was a great journey. But
so did you operate that company out of Hawaii, or did you just go to Hawaii for the paperwork and come on back?
Yeah, so no, it was Hawaii. I was there for a year and a half. And so we were building a product, right? So when I started, there were, I don't know, you know, if Rob winds up watching this, he might have a lot of corrections on the year and the amount and all this, but it was like maybe 150 to 200 videos in the library. And of those 200 videos, a lot of them were using the content that Rob and I had written together. So like that Sweet Beats song turns into like 8 different rhythm lessons. And then there's studies on those rhythm lessons. And then there's workbooks and worksheets on those studies and things for kids to coloring beats. And so there's a whole marketplace of children's products built around those core things, those core concepts.
Wow.
And so we were there together in Maui for about a year building a lot of the product. And then we needed someone on the mainland to sell the product. I've always done sales and marketing. So I came back here and started to, you know, pitch schools and help with conferences and do all that. Our shipping warehouse is in Smyrna, Delaware too. So, you know, there was a lot of kind of coordination there. But largely what I was doing was like a combination of content and sales. And we needed I came back honestly for family stuff, but we needed someone on the mainland anyway to kind of pitch those things. And when we do conferences too, it's really hard to pack everything up into planes and then fly to Texas or Florida. Texas and Florida are 2 big educational places. And so, you know, we would do conferences there where we'd be standing on a floor with thousands of teachers walking by and being like, hey, we got the curriculum for you. We got the curriculum. And G-Dash, I can tell you, like, before this journey, if you had told me I was going to be standing in San Antonio, Texas, pitching K-5 teachers on a children's product that I helped, you know, write, I would have been like, that does not sound like me at all. But it was good. It was a good journey. And when I talk to small business owners, you know, you have to, when I talk to small business owners on it's business time, like you have to have some context for what they're going through. And so that was really my journey, was creating this product, putting it out into the market, in basically having that kind of concept to sales, like to show that growth. And then also to being in that world, e-commerce, digital marketing, all things that every small business is going to need at some point. So, you know, even businesses, even barbershops, right? Like where I get all my business from referrals. I know all my customers personally. I don't need social media to be successful. Even they, at some point in their career, they're going to hire someone and they're going to want to give that person more hours, and they're going to have to find more customers. So at some point, every business wants to add more customers. And that whole, how do we find children and parents to use our product? that exists in every layer of business.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. So okay, so now you've done this whole world of youth music and edutainment, as they say,
Yeah, yeah.
and things change, life changes. You step away. When you step away, you could have easily said, "Screw this! I'm done with music. I'm done with the music business." If things went like this dealing with music business with kids, I would screw adults. Like screw
Yeah,
adults.
yeah.
But instead, you then pivoted and said, no, we're gonna go all in with the adults.
Well, I will say that I do say screw adult music multiple times a week. I do still say that.
Fair, fair.
But that's part of the ups and downs, and it's not. I also say multiple times a week, I love the arts and music space. I love working with people who are, in line. One of the things that just has always ignited me is passion. I don't care what your passion could be for little porcelain figurines. Your passion could be for watching airplanes. I don't care what your passion is for. I just love passion. When I'm around people who say things like, "Oh, I don't get into politics," or "I don't like dealing with that," or "I don't get into that stuff," I don't understand those people. Like, I don't understand. Everything is connected, right? And if you haven't found something that you have a passion for, it's it's not that you are just a person who doesn't have passion. It's that you have to keep looking until you find that thing. That's my opinion, of course. That's my opinion. But
No. You got to hold 1 second. See, listen. Yeah, you out there. He's talking to you. Okay. If you don't know if you like, hey, I don't, meh, about everything. If
yeah,
everything you do, you're like, meh, then keep trying stuff because there is something that will tickle your fancy. I know that sounds weird. Don't judge me. But
yeah,
you will then be like, oh, this is it, and all of a sudden you will realize that you have kind of sparked a passion for something that you never even knew, and you'll be like a kid in a candy store with a new toy at the same time. It'd be beautiful.
yeah,
So okay. Yeah.
yeah. And again, that's an opinion, right? And someone can come on here and say, I disagree with you. Some people just don't have a passion for things. And that's their opinion, right? And that's fine. Everyone's allowed to have their own opinions. I'm not here to insist that I'm correct and someone else is incorrect. But in my experience, as someone who's kind of extroverted and passionate and wild and blah, 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 I have people say, it's like, man, I really wish I had a passion like that. Or I really wish, like I get all the time, I really wish I could play guitar. And I kind of have to reverse engineer that sentence and be like, if you wish you could play guitar, buy a guitar. Well, I bought a guitar. Well, now you have to take the lessons. Well, I've taken the lessons. Well, now you have to practice. Now you have to practice.
And with that said, also people should know about their passion. When it comes to that, passion doesn't you don't have to have a passion for something that's exciting.
Yeah.
Like, yes, you might have gotten the guitar. You might have learned to play the guitar. You know why you don't want to practice? Because you don't like playing the guitar. Okay, what you did like was an Excel sheet that put me to sleep. The same Excel sheet that I took 2 naps on, trying to figure out. You love that thing. You was going through all the numbers and be that. There's nothing wrong with a boring passion.
Yeah, exactly.
Enjoy with whatever gets you going. Let that be your thing, and that's fine.
Yeah, you nailed it. You nailed it. I used guitar. That was obviously but no, I have a friend who's a data analyst, and she loves data, and that's it. She loves data, and when she talks about compiling, compressing, and reanalyzing data, she makes me want to be a data analyst. And those are words coming out of my mouth that, like, it feels weird saying that, but like when I talk to people with passion, they make me want to do that thing. And that's what I like to be around. And like, real talk, like some of it could be, I'm always running from being sad or being bored or being lonely or feeling those feelings, right? That we all see in movies that like, you don't want to be that guy, right? And maybe the reason I like to be around passionate people is because I'm afraid that if I'm not around passionate people, I'll lose passion for my own self, right? But whatever it is, whatever that drive is, being around passionate people lights me up, makes me wake up in the morning saying like, you know, like when we were talking on our podcast, or when you were sitting on business time last week. I mean, we're on your thing now, but you know, I woke up the next day and I'm still thinking about like how like excited you were about certain projects, how you lit up about certain things, and it's like that stuff. Like I wake up in the morning thinking about the people that really like, you know, care. I'm not trying to swear or anything, but you know, give a crap about what they're here for, what they're doing, right? And
I'm thinking. G, update your calendar. On Mondays, we karaoke. Let's go back to the 90s at Bar 13. Then you can stay in with the concert crew. Barboni got the squad for a year in review. Or the House of Peaches liable to help you with whatever you're going through. That's Morgan in April. Launch your alumni unite. That's all I'm saying. It's like entrepreneur night at CSC Station. It's business time at Stitch House with Full Carbon or Legendary Industry Jam. That's at Out of the Bar then.
What go on Wednesday?
Oh, you'll see. That's the open mic on IG from Ramrock Speaks. The Dell Art Museum has V. Shane Frederick. It's getting jazzy. Ray Jones Avery hosting that aesthetic. Or chill at home. It's Hats Off with G. Jones. This week's guest is Carrie Ann Altano, the opera advocate. Friday, check out the Dahlia. It's the Art Loop. You see all these artists that are a part of A Bird's Eye View? At Theater Inn, they let them cook the All Clean edition. You're gonna get big laughs with headliners and competition. If you enjoy Space Boy, the anniversary reopening got General Jones 3 times free and games you could win. Saturday is Empowered in Excellence 2, Route 9 Library. Help your team move through their mood. Now maybe you're wanting to go through Delaware's Underground Railroad with Harriet Tubman. At the Pure Flavor Lounge, we're gonna pick the city black and have a time that night. I'm just giving you the facts. The Philly Art Museum is free on Sunday, or should I say, pick what you pay. You wanted to know what's going on? Well, there's your answer. Hit my inbox for sponsorship or to get your event on G-. Update your calendar.
And when I was younger, I definitely believed that some people's passions were right and other people's passions were a waste of time. And that ate me up inside. That was wrong. Like I wish I could talk to that younger person and say, you know, you had blinders on and you were being judgmental and you weren't part of the growth of the community. You were just trying to drag people into your world. And you know, and that was a big turning point, was when I kind of realized that like I'm not here to tell someone else what they're doing with their life, what lights them up, what makes them happy is a waste of their time. That's not what I'm here for.
Right.
You know,
Right.
I'm here to say what lights you up. I might say it in my head, I think it's a waste of time. But what comes out of my mouth is what lights you up is what you should keep doing, right? And I can tell in you that's bringing you joy, and you should keep doing that.
And I appreciate that. Now, for you, I would say, so would you say music is your passion?
Yeah. I would say music is my passion, but music puts a look on people's face. That's my real passion. I like the look on their face. I like to see other people light up, and music is an easy way to see people light up. You know, there are people when I used to play a lot. I can't remember what comedian said this. It might have been George Carlin, but some comedian said, when I'm playing a room, I always look at the grumpiest person in the room and I try and make them laugh. And if I can make them laugh, then I know I made everybody else laugh. And when I was younger, I did that a lot. I looked for the person in the room who was not nodding his head, tapping his foot or whatever. And I would work as hard as I could to get them tapping their foot, to get them to light up a little bit. Now later in life, I realized like, you don't have to work for the grumpiest person. Right. You know, that was a little bit of like trying to prove something to myself or whatever. But you know, I think what I like about music, what I like about art, is it's low hanging fruit. It's an easy way. You hang out for 2-3 minutes, you do something you care about, and all of a sudden you see other people being happy. You know, there's plenty of misery in the world. It's nice to bring some joy, and I think what I like most about music is it brings joy to people that you didn't expect needed it. You know.
Ooh. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense to me.
Hey,
You know,
give it up.
I felt like that was almost a perfect segue to bringing him
Talk
in.
about joy. We got one of the most joyful people I know here now.
I, I want you to know. So Aaron, this is what's interesting to me, right? When I first, like, you're somebody who's around.
Yeah.
Okay, you're you, so you don't know how you are in rooms. But in rooms, you're somebody who is around. Like, so it's like is Aaron over there? I don't know. So, right. Meanwhile, I do a show with Ty, right?
Yep.
Me and Ty doing the show, MKT Place Gallery.
Yep.
We're rocking out.
Oh yeah,
You
good
just
time.
wait for it. You just appear. Okay. He's literally working on the amp, and who shows up? You. And I'm like, all right, well, what's he doing? Oh yeah, no. Now you're and but he didn't even have a band. You're just helping. Like, my brain was like, where did this guy come from? Who is he? Like, you don't know this because for you were just there doing the thing. But for me, it was like, huh? And I was like, shoot, like orchestrating so much because the show was happening. But it was like, I was like, how did y'all two wind up meeting? And and then you even told me that y'all played together. How did that happen?
Yeah.
We met at Oddity Bar late last year, or no, early last year. It was like back in April, and I think what we originally bonded over was actually like G-Dash. Remember that show that you came to where I was playing outside?
Yeah.
And like we got rained out and everything.
Uncle John. Yes.
Yeah, Uncle John's barbecue. So we played in the thunderstorm, and I went to Oddity Bar like a week after that, and everyone in there was talking about that video of me like playing outside, and I start talking to I think Ryan, and then he introduced me to Aaron, and like Aaron's sitting there, and like we're talking about the video and everything, and it was just like spontaneous combustion at that moment. You know, we were sort of like like-minded people, and we just started playing some music together too. Aaron was playing bass with me a while back, which was really cool.
Yeah, let me tell him the funny story, and this is how music works, right? Is because so
hey, Elio's in here.
I had just I just left this company in January. I was trying to refine where to head February, March, and so I'm looking for a bass player and drums, bass and drums, right? That's what the Full Carbon Get Up is all about. As long as it's got tight bass and drums, my job is very easy. If bass and drums aren't so great in Full Carbon, my job's very hard, right? And so I'm at Oddity, and I'm looking for bass and drums. And someone told me Ty used to play bass with a group, I guess, was it Cherry Crush or
Crush, yeah,
back in the day. And he's on stage playing bass, and I'm looking at him like, oh man, I love his vibe. He's playing bass, all this stuff, and I'm thinking about recruiting him for bass. Now, little side note, I'm a huge fan of original music. I love it when you do a good cover, but I'd rather hear a terrible original song than a good cover any day. I love original music. And so he's playing bass, and I'm thinking about recruiting him, and we talk for a bit, and he tells me about his music, and he's like, oh, actually, I'm Ty Mathis, I got this other music, all this stuff. So I check it out on Spotify, and I'm like, oh my God, this guy has a huge library of original music, and it's good original music, right? Yeah. And so funny thing is, I was going to try and recruit him for bass for Full Carbon, and then I wind up loving his music, wind up playing bass for Ty Mathis.
That's how you wound up playing. Wow.
Yeah, it was fun. That was what a time, man.
Yeah.
Last year was such a long year. Like we did there's so many different things that happened, and like we were both looking for like a different component to our band, like to each other's band or solo project, and then we came together.
Yeah.
And that we have lots of fun times. We played shows together and everything.
Yeah, and I got to give him props too. Like his love for music definitely helped reignite the fire. Like being around someone who's just everywhere he goes in the world, he just wants to like bring joy, right? I mean, based on what we were just talking about, it was a really easy friendship right off the bat because we were on the same mission, using music to bring joy to people.
Yep, yeah, that's what it is, my friend. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Okay, so to me that is super dope. How many bands have you played with or in, Aaron? How many worlds have you dealt with?
So like, I've jumped up with people. I filled in a lot of different places, but the significant ones were Spokey. I started on percussion for the first year or so, and then I moved to guitar. Did some vocals with them. Obviously, Jeff Farrar is like the vocalist there, but I wrote a lot of songs with them too. So I sang a lot of my own tunes there. And then I played with Bullbuckers after Spooky, which is like a ska band, upstroke, like, you know, real high energy, full horn section. And then the Full Carbon Get Up came after that. And then, you know, outside of, you know, I was, what we play together, like 3 months, maybe, Ty,
Yeah,
3 months.
yeah, something like that.
Um,
And
but,
I think our last show was well, Coverdale Farm.
oh yeah,
I think that was our last.
yeah, right, Coverdale.
Yeah, that was a fun time. It
But
was a
yes,
really
so
show.
those were the significant ones. I've sat in with a bunch of groups, but in terms of like, you know, actually putting it out there and leaning in, you know, that's most of it. But you know, I wanted to say a line here before Ty jumped on, just about like you know, fitting into places, and I've always been someone that when things are orderly, right, I like to sit back and watch, and I like to enjoy it. You were talking about the fixing the amp at that show. When things are orderly, I don't have a role. I'm just there to enjoy it. But as soon as chaos happens, I just light up and I want to jump in and I want to make things orderly again, right? And so you know, that's where when you see me pop up, it's probably because there was some chaos and I'm here to mess with it, right? And and so, you know, whether we reference that show at Marketplace where there was the amp, something was going on wonky with the amp, but also too, like Ty has all this great music with these crazy great bass licks and all this stuff, and I was like, man, like I'm not normally a bass player, but like I know I can do good stuff with those tunes. I know I can bring a good anchor. Also, we were playing with Augie too, who's a great drummer.
Oh, hell yeah.
So there was some really good opportunities to like jump in and create some really good shows there. And, you know, I think that's what we did.
A lot of improvisation too. Like
Yeah.
some songs were like G-Dash, you know, the songs are already really long. And like sometimes we would just like play a whole set and like it would just never stop. The songs would just keep going in and out of each other.
Yeah.
So that's a fun thing, you know?
I will say that makes sense, Ty, because your Finnegan set was very similar to that. Like it ran into a space. Like, did you want to break? Nah, we're here. Like, it just went.
Feedstock was that same way. They were like, "Hey Ty, do you want to play an extra half hour?" And I was like, "Man, I would love to."
Yeah.
Love to play an extra half hour. And, you know, those are the best shows, you know, when it just feels good that you don't want to stop, you know.
Absolutely, I love it. Now, okay, so wait, what'd you say, Ty?
It's like eating a good meal, you know, like you could be full, but you still kind of want to eat more just because it tastes so good.
Absolutely. See, I love both of y'all energies together because y'all are the epitome of passion for art and creativity. And that is beautiful. So, Ty, while I got you up here real quick, before I get back all the way to him, tell the people about tyfest for 2 seconds.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So tyfest is a legendary music, art, and meditation festival that I put together. I actually have a tyfest shirt on right now. It wasn't planned, but I was outside Market Street just sort of like handing out a lot of flyers and doing some networking. But yeah, so tyfest is a little festival I put together. I had 2 of them at my house so far. It's sort of a dream that I had to create a community of like-minded individuals to come together and create. You know, I wanted to make something where the audience can actually be part of the festival. So we have like open jams, we have live group paint there. So it's like really immersive. We have some of the best local artists there. We have a comedian. We have Fig 90 comedy. We have G-Dash actually going to be hosting it. We have Suge Daniels. She's like one of my all-time favorite local artists. I'm doing a set there. Who else do we have? Seth Pala. He's going to be doing live painting. I mean, there's so many amazing people that are involved in them. You know, my goal is something that's open to all ages and just include everyone, so everyone can sort of be a part of it, and they can take something away from it and they bring something to it as well, you know?
Dope. Listen, I'm here for it. I will be hosting the vibrations. There are going to be bowls involved. Shouts out to Simply Sounds, Shook Daniels, Thick 90. It's a whole vibe. And my favorite part, if you're thinking about it, is I get to, like, so I'm hosting this. This is why I like having both of you on the screen, because, see, y'all both do, and shouts out to Genesis Z, y'all tend to do there's a jam session that happens at the Irish Bar that's fire, that y'all both played at, and y'all get funky, right? Y'all get to go cross pollinating the sounds and the infusion. I'm actually curious because I don't play an instrument, so I use my vocal instrument at best. What's it like for you both, kind of jumping in jumping in the jam session? I know, I know, Aaron, you said you love original music anyway.
Mm-hmm.
What's it like hopping into that environment? Because I don't know what it's like to hop in and play something that like you don't even know these people. Like, you're the rock. Like,
you're being a little humble though, because I was playing an original song at Stitch House, and I said, "You want some bars?" And you hopped right on there, like we've been practicing for years together. So you do know a little bit about it. Real quick before we leave tyfest, though, it's this Saturday, 3 to 7.
Yes, it is 3 to 7. It's open to all ages, and I'm actually doing a ticket giveaway, and the winner is going to be announced tonight at 8:30. So. That big ticket giveaway. I knew I was going to be on here for a little bit, so I was like, what, let me give some people some more time, because there's been so many people that have been entering it in. There's going to be 3 lucky winners of this big giveaway.
Yeah, I didn't mean to redirect, but I wanted to make sure the name or the day and the time got in there for sure.
I know. I'm so glad you did that. Like, I'm so involved in the whole thing, promoting it. So I've been talking about it all day. So I guess I'm assuming that everyone knows all the details.
Yeah. That's why I jumped back.
Yeah, it's at Theater End this Saturday. It's open to all ages. It's from 3 to 7 p.m. And we still have a few tickets for sale. I'm doing a ticket giveaway right now. Again, this is one of the coolest music festivals in the world, in my opinion. So I want all of you guys to come on out.
Nice.
And it starts out with a meditation. We have some of the best local artists. We have a lot of great visual artists. Everyone that's a part of this is actually going to be equal to the performer,
Nice.
It's going to be really cool.
And G-Dash, don't worry, I got you. So what it's like to jump in on the Oddity stage?
No, not just the Oddity stage, a jam session. Like, I don't know what it's like to just hop in with an instrument and start playing with strangers. Like, what is that?
I'll tell you the truth. I'll tell you the truth. One of the most important things about that is the nonverbal. If they're like, nah, then you don't go up. It's gotta be a mutual thing. And so a lot of people will see me like jump up on stage or mess around with people. And from the outsider perspective, it looks like I'm just like inserting myself into that world. But there was a lot of nonverbal communication that happened in advance, because I'll tell you, when I'm on the other side, if I'm on stage and someone walks up and tries to play, that's not happening, right? But if they look at me and they go, huh, can I? And oh yeah. Then you would never know that we just had a whole conversation. I used to do a thing with Spokey, right? Because I would do hand drums, and everybody and their friend wants to play hand drums, right? Everyone believes they can play hand drums. And people would say, yo, my man, can I sit in on a song for hand drums? And I had a very simple rule, and I'm giving it away a little bit here on live. I hope not too many people know this rule, but I have a very simple rule. I said, are you good? And if they hesitate at all, they don't get to play. They have to go, yeah, I'm good. All right, man, here you go. Head on up. And that's the thing. Like, maybe they might think they're good, but that's what music's about, right? You don't actually have to be good to play hand drums. But it's
you have to have the confidence to say that you're good.
Are you
to go
going
there.
to bring? Yeah. If you go up there and you suck, are you going to get joy from it? Because now you're good. That's fine. Go get the joy, right? So that's one of the beautiful things is it's like, I don't like the ego in music. Like, you're not there to prove to people that you're good or you're bad or you're this or you're that or to grab the stage or whatever. But at the same time, I'm gonna be honest, like, you know, you have to ask for things or you won't get them, right? So if you want to be on stage with someone, you have to go ask, can I be on stage with you? You have to find ways to ask. And if it's a yes, then get up on stage, because the stakes are low, right? We're all just here to have fun, make some music, make some merriment. But to go back a few steps, like, one of the things I love about Oddity is it is chaotic. It can be chaotic sometimes. Beautiful chaos. Wild musicians from different genres. Sometimes just last night, one was playing Master Blaster, right, by Stevie Wonder, and the other one was playing Jammin' by Bob Marley. Well, they're both in B minor, and I don't know if either one of them realized they were both playing. So I jump up and I go, everyone's looking pretty, right, Stevie Wonder, and that's why we jammin'. I want to jam it with you. And I was trying to make the lyrics on both those songs weave together. But that's the fun, right? Chaos is a great opportunity to do order. Order is a great opportunity to bring chaos. But I mean, you know, there are rules. There are rules to it all, right? Which is like, you don't want to step on another person's spotlight. You don't want to insert yourself in a place that you're not welcome. And there's a graciousness too, right? If you get on stage with someone, or if someone wants you to be on stage with them, you have to clap the loudest for their songs the rest of the night. That's how you pay. That's how you pay.
Is that really a thing? Like, y'all care about that?
Yeah. It's the energy. It's a feedback loop. It's a feedback. If they give you energy and they allow you on the stage to bring energy, then you have to give them the energy back with the claps and the woos and whatever. And it's like, and I mean, that's like, there's a lot of things you can do to support arts and music that doesn't cost $1. If you're like, man, I wish I had more money, I would contribute to the arts and music space, but you're not clapping at the end of a song, come on now. One's free, one's easy.
Yeah.
And no, a lot of artists will say, I don't care if people are clapping. They're lying. That's a cap, full cap. Everybody wants a little bit of feedback. Everybody wants to feel appreciated and loved and all that stuff. So, you know, love is easy to get. It's free, you know. There's a lot of stuff in this world that costs a lot of money, a lot of time. But giving someone a compliment, applause, a woo, whatever, all that shit's free. It doesn't take any time.
Yeah. That love is the true currency at the end of the
for sure.
Okay, so Ty, I've never now I can't lie. He made me think this. I never thought I was question this to you. So do you notice that? I gotta watch how I word this question because the whole world can watch. But do you notice, like, because you play like such a free spirit, like you're like in your world, but in a world of energy. So do you notice the energy given back to you? Is that a thing for you?
Yeah, I think that it is. I think that, like, I like to think that the world is a mirror, you know, it's a reflection of you, and the energy you put out is the energy you get back. So I think that in my world, I think that it really comes down to, like, if I'm feeling good at a show, the audience feels really good and they're really into it, you know? And I think that's a big thing, you know. It's really an energetic thing, and it's an emotional based thing too. I think the more emotion you put into the music or whatever art it is, even if it's a piece of visual art, I think that people pick up on that and it makes them feel something, you know. And I think that's the most important thing, you know.
Oh man, that is beautiful. All right, Ty, we'll drop you down. I got a few more questions for Aaron. Listen, make sure I know who the giveaway is, or I could bring you back up. Whatever we want to do for the giveaway, let me know, because I will put the name inside the answer as well. Inside the post.
Yeah, I'm gonna draw them out of the hat in a few minutes. I just gotta take note of
the hat.
Get right, you got the hat, man.
Oh, I forgot to bring my hat.
Oh man, I'll use this hat. I got a Led Zeppelin hat I can use.
There it is. So you want me to bring you back up when it's time to do the drawing?
I would love that. You want to get back with me at 8:30?
Screw it. Wasn't planning on it, but I'm gonna do it now. Okay.
Yes.
I'm gonna bring you back at 8:30. I got a few more things I need to talk to Aaron about. I'm curious. All right.
Sounds good. Okay, peace, y'all.
Yes, sir. All right. we go.
Am I in? Oh.
Now you gotta drop yourself down.
Wait, do I cancel it?
Oh no, I got you. Hold up.
At the X at the top will give you the leave option.
That's
There you go. My man, that was dope. That was fun. That was just an interesting salsa. All right, question for you though.
I didn't know he was popping on, but I'm
I
glad he got
know.
a chance.
I kept it as a surprise because y'all played together, and I was like, "Ooh, I can bring up your former bandmate."
Yeah.
So, I felt like it was a real TV show now. Like I feel like I'm the whole show now. I get to bring up special guests and stuff.
Joining us live is Ty Mathis.
Yes, that's literally how I planned it. It was like, yes.
That's good.
But here's the trick, because the other side of this is the passion conversation. And I wanted to ask you specifically in this passion conversation, it feels like you also have a passion for business. Like, where did that come from, and why is that such a big thing for you?
So that's the through line, right, of passion, right? I like being around people who are passionate. Small business owners, you cannot grow a small business unless you're passionate. There is no boss waking you up in the morning. There is no person threatening for you to get in on time, otherwise you lose your job. You have to be self-motivated. And in the world that we're in, the only way to be self-motivated is to have some sort of burning core. You know, you got to have that passion. That being said, I'm gonna say some mildly controversial stuff about the society we live in right now. Okay,
let's go. Let's go. This is what we're here, baby.
But that being said, art and music is timeless. Millions of years we have been sharing stories, banging on bongos. It is what unifies and brings us together. It is something that transcends whatever society you're in. Art and music, the things that unify us and make us feel connected to the world. I always used to joke that music is us marking time as it passes in the way that we want, right? Art and music is timeless. Capitalism and the fact that it's nice to keep a bunch of people in poverty so they stay motivated and grinding, that is not timeless. That's relatively modern. Last couple hundred years. And I don't have anything against capitalism in principle, but when you combine art and music, something that fills our soul with, if you don't get your rent or your mortgage paid, you're a loser, you're a failure, you're going to suffer, you're going to have to beg the state for money, all that nasty stuff that comes with music. That's where my passion for business comes from, is if you are well structured, you can allow the passion, the thing that you love, to also be the thing that pays your mortgage. If you are poorly structured, you will spend your time spinning your wheels until you are so tired that you just clock in, clock out, and go home. And I've had friends, right, that in their 20s, they seized every day. They breathed the air like it was the first time they ever breathed it. But they got beaten down over time, you know? And it became easier for them to not follow their passion than it became to follow their passion. And something that I noticed in small business is when people are well structured, when they have the tools, when they have the network, when they have that passion, that they carry on, right? They carry on late into life, still feeling like that same, everything's fresh, everything's new, everything's wonderful. And that's where a lot of my small business passion comes from, is they get to carry that emotion into a world that is not kind to people who don't have money. Wow. You know, if you can monetize your passion, you get a kindness from the world that isn't there for people who don't typically have money, you know?
Right. Okay. That makes a lot of sense. So how did that kind of turn into, how did that passion for entrepreneurship and passion for music merge together and say, hey, I'm going to lean into this whole full carbon situation, or Canopy Crow situation? Like, how did that become a thing? Like,
so funny story is Canopy Crow is like almost a 20-year-old company at this point, but not in the way that most people mean when they say that. But about 20 years ago, I can't believe how old I've become. But a long time ago, around like 2004-5, I was starting to apply to jobs. I'd been a musician for a little while, and I was starting to apply to jobs. And it was so unfair to write on a resume, oh, you want interpersonal communication skills? How about trying to reach out to 300 people every week? You want to show professionalism? How about showing up on time to a bar or a venue, professional, setting up sound, being ready to hit on the dime, playing through to the end, and then afterwards mingling with the crowd. There's so many business skills wrapped up in promoting your art and music that when you go to explain to someone how you are a professional, they go, oh yeah, so what do you do? And you say, I'm a musician. And then they go, oh, so you're a pot smoking loser who just asks people for money, right? And that gap, I hated that gap, because people who clock in at 9 a.m. and sit in someone else's world are getting this credibility, and no shade on that, by the way, that is totally fine, but I mean, they're getting the credibility that they are a professional adult, whereas people who are working in the arts and music scene, when you put it down on paper, you can't write a paragraph that shows the 75 business owners, venues, bars, all this, that are happy with you. You can't have a future boss call 75 venues and say, this person has been awesome and professional every time. That bothered me. So Canopy Crow came from the idea of a canopy, right? Everybody is under the same umbrella, right? And then Crow, I mean, a little bit was the alliteration, but I also, I got a lot of respect for the way crows, they work together. When a predator enters the scene, they always call out, right? And they tell everybody where the dangers are. When food comes around, they call out, they tell everybody where the food is. It was a unifying creature, bird for me, or animal, I guess I should say. So take away the crow for a minute, but Canopy Crow was intended to be a blanket under which artists and musicians could collaborate, get health insurance, be each other's references for jobs, do all the good things that the world was not providing for artists and musicians. Now, that became way harder to do than I thought it was going to do. But what it was like when my drummer was going to get a job, for example, and he needed a reference, he put me as a reference as, director of Canopy Crow Productions. And then so he would get called and I would say, oh yeah, he's great. He's punctual. He's always on time. He's always prepared. He's an incredible worker. He's going to be an incredible employee for you. You would be a fool not to hire this person, right? And so it kind of was a lighthearted way to provide a professional network for artists and musicians who were not being viewed as professionals in the marketplace. And then here we are, 2022, 23, and I'm coming back into the scene, and I'm like, you know what? Rather than recreate a whole new brand, a whole new mission, a whole new everything, I'm going to jump right back into where I was at. So I skipped over a little bit, but between 2004 and 2016, Canopy Crow moved more into like event production, where we were setting up stages and things like that in some Philly events. I lived in Philly from like 2006 until like 14 about, and doing a lot of live event production. And then when Prodigies Music brought me on, we weren't sure what the setup was going to be, whether it was 1099, meaning a subcontractor, or W-2, meaning an employee, or a minority partner. We weren't really sure what the structure was. So in the beginning, I shifted Canopy Crow to a content creation vehicle, right? And so it's always kind of been like a shell for whatever ventures in arts and music we were doing, because I recognize people who don't have that weren't taken seriously. And to be quite frankly, when people talk behind their backs, oh, they were late here, they were late for one event. They do 150 events a year, right? An employee who's late once gets measured against all the other times they were on time. But for some reason, artists and musicians, they mess up once, all their credibility's gone, So anyway, fast forward to where we're at now. Canopy Crow Productions is a full-size production house. I have multiple strategic partners, but essentially myself, Mike Zatwarnitsky, and Genesis Z. These are the three arms at the moment. I do the digital marketing, advertising, small business consulting, all that fun stuff. Mike is the hands-on production. We just built the stage at Oddity. So Oddity ripped out the stage, rebuilt it. That was one of our baby project, our pet projects. I actually have Manny coming on, the owner of Oddity, next week on It's Business Time. We're going to get all into that. We're also going to be doing a time lapse. We have the time lapse. We're going to put that on our website so you can check out the whole Oddity stage transforming into what it is going to become, what it is now. But so Mike is the physical production side. I'm the digital side. And then Genesis is kind of like our artist consulting. You know, for those who don't know Genesis's story, incredible story.
Yeah.
He sold songs to the LA Lakers. He's worked with Redman. Like, you know, he's got a crazy good resume. But, you know, in Genesis, if you're watching, I love you. But he's not good at it.
Genesis is my favorite version. Listen, Genesis is my favorite person from the Bruno Mars timeline. Like, I feel like that.
Yeah.
And he knows it. He knows this.
Yeah.
So that's a whole other. I need to have him on here. We'll talk with that. But like that Genesis is my favorite person from the Bruno Mars timeline. Take that how you want it, but he knows it.
Yeah.
Favorite leader of the Genesis.
And musicians. Gee, you and I talked about this after our conversation last week, but musicians are not always the best at saying, like, I worked hard, now pay me the money, right? And nobody wants to be that guy. But like I said, we live in a capitalist society, right? Like you can't just always do things on goodwill. You can't pay your mortgage with goodwill. You can't pay your mortgage because you think this is really fun, right? You have to actually convert your art into the ability to survive in our world. And so, I'll put it out there for those of you who cannot bring yourselves to ask for more money. I will try and do that for you.
Absolutely. No. I'm a big proponent that a lot of artists need somebody to be the a-hole. Yeah. Like, you need somebody to, like, because, and for no other reason that sometimes as an artist in the industry, you wind up having, like, it's very interesting for me as a performer, and then I, like, interview people. So, like, I book people, and then I get booked. And then I work with the Delaware Music Network. So we also put people on stages, and we also work with people and work with artists. So like I'm in and people get sensitive and people get weird. And sometimes, depending on what you're doing, it's a lot easier and a lot better to have representation to say no for you.
Yeah.
or to say, or to say, here's my price, or to say, like whatever the case may be, then you attack in certain situations yourself, and then you got to fight with fallout yourself. And that's not always a comfortable circumstance for a lot of people.
Yeah, no, you're right. Having that buffer, and you see this in corporate worlds all the time, right? There's always a buffer between the customer and the person who's actually going to be closing that deal or doing that thing. There's a buffer, right? Because, when people are doing business, if there's just the two of them, if something goes wrong, that's 50% of that deal is gone now. But when you have a buffer, something can go wrong. And I hate to use the word scapegoat, but the company or the customer can say, that one person I'm not a fan of, can I work with someone else? And you can keep the deal going when you have multiple people involved. Now, that being said, that also creates a lot of problems in the music industry where you have people who get involved, take a percentage, and don't actually do much other than create more problems. So we're always going to be dealing with that. But like one of the mantras that I'll say, especially for anyone who listens and who's like, what, like, where's he going with this? Well, where I'm going with this is there will always be problems. Get used to it. Just let them happen.
Right.
Try and figure out a solution, move on. But this is Wilmington. It's a small market. This is Delaware. It's a small market. Do not hold resentment. And if you feel yourself, if you are out there in the public and you have an urge to trash somebody who's in the arts and music scene, here's what I suggest you do instead. Call them and say, how can we make things right? Because you are not going to make things any better by telling all of their friends what you think about their business ethics or their tactics or whatever. You're not going to improve their world. You're not going to make them more professional. It is not your job to train people. It is not your job to teach people a lesson. It is your job to focus on you and what you're doing. And if you have a problem with someone, give them a call. And here's a wild concept, right? And start by saying, I'm sorry for the stuff I did.
You want people to have humility in the arts? And wait, you want people to have humility in the arts with commerce involved? That's cute. That's adorable. I know. Right? There's arts, there's commerce, there's ego. But I don't know about no humility.
I know when you said that's cute. You know, I think it is. It's cute to believe, isn't it?
Like I said, I know what you was aiming for with that humility thing. Ego is typically way more involved.
Yeah, yeah. And that being said, you know, I'm not saying don't. You know, if obviously if somebody's treating people wrong in the scene, share that with your friends. We got to protect each other. That's where the crow part comes out. Sometimes people enter our scene and they say they have the best intentions, but they create a ton of drama. They create a ton of problems. And when it's all said and done, they have a bunch of people scratching their head, being like, I can't tell if I was just taken advantage of or if everybody around me is upset with me. And they, you know, they create these waves. And all I'll say is those people they're not bad people. They just, they're not bad people. They think they're doing good. They think they're training musicians, educating musicians. They think by beating people up that they're making them stronger and things like that. And I don't know, in some cases maybe they're right, but in my experience, if you as an adult are trying to train another adult without asking them if that's what they want, you're out of your lane, to put it frankly. You know,
No,
just focus on what you're doing, and the right people will be attracted to you. Don't go out of your way to try and, I use the word train to encompass like all the people who are like, oh, this person acted this way, and I'm going to teach them a lesson by doing this other thing. No.
and you know what I like to call that, and it's not often used as this term, but I like to call it manipulation. I think that you're now manipulating somebody at that point because you feel like they deserve to learn the thing that karma will teach them. Karma does a really good job.
Yeah.
Like, it's been working for a long time. It puts a lot of work in, all the hours in the world. Karma puts in work.
But let me ask you, what do you call manipulation when the person manipulating has a really positive and good intent and wants to do better? What do you call that?
Oh, in this society, an influencer. So
there you go. Yeah, right. That's
maybe I shouldn't say that out loud, but that's what they think of them as, influencers.
I know. It is so hard to suss out in arts and music, like what someone's intent is, right? Because people do wonderful things, great things, and we all know what their intent is. But when they're doing things that don't feel right, sometimes it's because they're malicious, but other times it's because they really care and they think that it's tough love is what they need, right?
Yeah, but that's...
And it's really hard to kind of figure out. It's really hard. I'm not an expert at that, you know.
I will say the part of the problem with the music business and the music industry is that it's because people wind up going through, hey, I went through a tough time and it taught me this, so now I'm putting you through a tough time to teach you that.
Right.
It doesn't really work that way because really what's happening is now somebody's getting their money cut. Right? Yeah. Like, essentially, at the end of the day, there's finance involved. So when people are doing these things, it's like, wait, which part of the business is that, right? And or they think, well, I'm showing you the ropes in the business. Are you showing me the ropes in the business or the business that you were in? Because it changes, it morphs, and we literally get musicians, artists, creatives in all sectors. Like, we're talking about music, but in all sectors, they get robbed that way. That's exactly how creatives get robbed. Because and sometimes, and like you said, sometimes it's under the guise of a learning experience, and then sometimes under the guise of a mask and robbery. Okay, like So,
no, it's.
So
I mean, that's how I see it. Yeah, if we can learn one thing from Gen Zs, though, it's the word consent, right? Is it's like, if you're trying to teach me a lesson, make sure that you have my consent in that lesson being taught, right? Like.
Facts. Don't try to teach me a hard lesson in silence. I'll learn you.
Because we've all been there. We've all been to the bar, to someone we used to work with, and for some reason everything's off. The whole vibe's off. They're growling at you. Everything's off, and you're like, are you having a bad day, or are you trying to teach me A left center, I can't tell. But anyway, let me put a broader pin on this though, which is like everything I say, about the scene and about people and all that. I try really, really hard, and I encourage everybody else out there to try really, really hard to genuinely believe that everyone's coming from a good place and they're trying to make things better. And even if they appear to be angry or appear to be wrathful or whatever, assume that that is because they care and they're working really hard in the way that they learned to make the world better, right? And that's all I can say about that is you have to assume that people are coming from a good place.
You pretty much assume positive intent. You kind of live in that world.
Totally.
So one last question, because we tore it up today. All right.
This goes until 11, right? No,
not at all. Okay, not at all, sir. We are over the time expected, but this was such a great conversation. I am here for it.
Cool.
I love to ask this question to all my guests. If you could give advice to a younger version of you, but the year is still 2024. So it's this year, but it's a young Aaron Poole, maybe little AP, I don't know, double A, Ron, whatever it is, okay? But the young Poole out there, what advice would you have given to a younger version of you in 2024?
So I got a bunch of long answers, but I'll try and give you a couple short ones. So first of all, I reject the whole question itself because I'm probably going to live forever. No, I'm just playing. We are in a time, though, where, I mean, if you look at the signs, they got mice living 3 times longer. All we have to do is hang in there until that pill shows up, and then we can live to 250. So the younger version of me is me right now.
You realize that you left capitalism out of that conversation, but continue. Okay.
Yo, hats off to that. That was hats off to that comment right there. All right, no, but all that aside, a lot of it would be physical stuff. It would be keep your body good because your mind is going to keep growing, and when you have a good idea to do something, your body's going to be the limitation. If you want to sing well, don't smoke cigarettes. If you want to be loading in gear for the next 20 years, do some knee exercises, do some bends, like keep those knees fresh, like, but I'll put that aside too. And I'll answer the question with the intent, that you have, but, compound interest is real, right? Every $9 you spend on a burger now could be $2 you make a burger at home and $7 you put into a compound interest account. Like that stuff is real. Don't play the lottery. The stock market is the lottery, and if you lose, you still have the stocks. So don't gamble with your money unless it's gambling in the way that the rich people gamble. They gamble on the stock market. With Robinhood, oh my gosh, there's so many ways to gamble. Buy penny stocks, do crypto, do whatever, but at least when things fail, you still have something. With Lotto, when that fails, that's trash. You just throw it away, right? So that's what I'd like to tell myself to invest better if I were younger. But the last thing I'll say here is business related, which is if I were my younger self and I had another 20 years ahead of me, it would be spend your time with the people who already like you. Don't work to make people who don't like you like you. It is a waste of your time. There is a whole world of people who already like you for the person you already are. Surround yourself with those people. The ones who don't like you, let them continue not liking you somewhere else. Like you don't need them in your world. Like there are going to be people that you come across, young Aaron, right? That say, here's your problem, here's this, here's that, here's this, blah, blah, and you're going to stress over how much you need to change to impress those people. And now that being said, personal growth is great. Obviously, if someone says, here's a problem you have, you should take that seriously, you should work on it. But I spent a lot of time as younger me trying to become things for other people. And I think if I hadn't spent that much time, I would have a lot more songs produced. I would have a bigger business grown. I would have even better. I love my network. I love my friends. I love my family. But I would have an even better one because I spent a lot of time chasing clout and chasing friends and chasing things I burn a lot of energy on chasing things that there was other people who wanted to work with me, and I was busy chasing people who didn't want to work with me. So that's what I'd say.
That was phenomenal advice. I love that. Like, and I asked that question because there is a younger version of you out there.
Yeah.
There's a younger version of you who's going through those same things, and they kind of needed that information. All right, good sir. This has been an amazing interview. I do a thing that you know that I do, but I'm gonna tell you anyway. I do a thing where I tell people, if you give me a word, I give you a poem. While you think of the word, I'm going to tell the rest of the world, listen, check me out. Every Sunday I do G-Update Your Calendar, where I give you a weekly review of all the upcoming events in poetry form. It's a vibe. Also, check me out, tyfest. I'm hosting tyfest on Saturday at Theater Inn. It starts at 3 o'clock. It's going to be a vibe. It's phenomenal. Come check that out. And next week, on Hats Off, I have Carrie Ann Otano from Opera Delaware. So that's going to be a whole nother, just different conversation. It's going to be an amazing situation with opera folks. And I'm going to sing some opera in front of the crowd. I'm going to get my vocal. I'm lying. I will not do that. I promise you. But this is going to be a great conversation. With that said, sir, do you have a word for me?
That is just one?
You got two? It don't matter. I don't care. What you got? A phrase? It doesn't matter to me.
I'm going to keep it simple. I'm going to keep it as one. Understanding.
Understanding. Okay. All right. I'm thinking. Hola. Okay, fine. For those of you who don't know what I just said. Merci beaucoup. Okay, I know. Now you're starting to feel misled. Like, he gave me a word, but now you start to feel a little perturbed. Like, where's G-Dash even going with this? But I just want you to feel like you're welcome just a bit. Like, I want you to know that at my hello, no matter how you choose to speak it, that you're welcome for this. See, this is just a verbal expression that can conclude this session and understanding of all the lessons that we have ever been through. See, it's hard, so hard, that when you're taking business through the arts and you're trying to make sure that you can maneuver through everything you need to, and even to make all the financial, it starts to get difficult. Like, it's real easy when it seems like we're speaking the same language until finance gets involved, and now all of a sudden there is a loss, and now someone comes with anguish. Now, it was nice until I didn't understand what you were saying, and all we're going off of is memory, and we're contemplating what I was supposed to be making, and now if I don't receive that, I feel like you hate it. Okay? See, this is when the conversation should have been a financial statement, and it feels like somebody got all of the numbers and the letters mistaken. See, I just wanted to say hola. Like, I wanted to start off with a little bit of a hello, okay? Maybe, how are you doing? Maybe we should put something in writing so I already know what your obligations are and what you're supposed to be doing. Maybe we shouldn't be getting lost and swimming through all the minutia of what I'm supposed to do or what I want to do, or when I'm thinking about, maybe this is what they're going to do. No, I don't want that, because that's how that starts to confuse you. I need the obligations to be equal for you and me, and easily for me to understand what you are going through. Sometimes communication solves things for nations, but most of the time it's real easy to replace that communication with a different language. This is why the Tower of Babel fell. Shit. Okay, so I need y'all to understand this is why it gets hard for people to spell out everything that they're going through. This is why Arts for Commerce feels like it gets worse and worse, because a lot of times people sacrifice for the commercialism because they hope that they can pour it all into a verse as long as it's catchy enough that they don't wind up only profiting after they're in the hearse. Ooh, excuse me, I don't mean to lurch over these lines, but I want you to understand that a lot of times it's hard to find most people who are on the same page when money is still on that same line. See, a lot of times there's those who have the aspects of payment and say, what do we charge when you get through the door, or this is how much money you can make before, and those who create all the things that people will see once they're through that door, or what's my value for creating what I create all of the time, and how do I find ways to make more. And a lot of times those, how can I say, I'll say demand and supplies, well, This is where people wind up starting to despise, and people wind up adding in lies, and people don't understand that there's a table, but the question is always, what do you bring? And this is where it gets difficult to find understanding. Paul.
Yo, that
Yeah, I mean,
was
something that just, you know how it goes.
yo, what a summation, yo, man. That was awesome. That was good.
Yeah, I appreciate you, sir. Anything you want to say to the people before we get up out of here?
I mean, yo, you're a talented man. I appreciate you having me on. I feel like we've known each other for years now, even though it's been weeks or months. You know, we've crossed paths, but man, I appreciate you. That's what I'll say. I appreciate the community, Wilmington, and this whole arts and music community, man. It's filling my soul. You're a big part of that. Ty, Oddity Bar, you know, Stitch House, Market Street, like it's just Trolley, like it's great that we have what we have in this zone. And you know, sometimes you have to travel far away to understand what you got back at home.
Ooh, you got bars too? All right, y'all. This has been an episode of Hats Off with G-Jones and the amazing Aaron Poole from Canopy Crow Productions, as well as the Full Carbon Get Up. Another amazing episode. Again, like always, love yourself, and the rest will fall into place. All right. Again, I'm G-Jones. It's been a great time. I'll see y'all next week, y'all.
Bye, y'all.